place, I want to ask you to close your eyes for a moment and relax your eyes maybe a bit. And in Tödling et al., they wrote, we need a fundamental shift for sustainable transformation. Systems fulfilling basic needs, such as energy, mobility, food, water, are seen to require fundamental shifts in order to become truly sustainable. This implicates social, behavioral, and technological changes in an interrelated and often radical way. So I want to ask you and think about what was your last change of preference, of social behavioral or technological change. And then maybe how and why did it happen? Well, keep that in mind till the end of the presentation. Well, we start in the Ruhr area. We have been in Duisburg right now at the ThyssenKrupp steel plant. We were this morning in Gelsenkirchen, and we are right now at the border here in Bochum. And in our research project, we considered Bochum in the first place and later Gelsenkirchen and Herne. Why? Because we have an unemployment rate in Bochum, which is for Germany, or was still high with 9.1%, and Gelsenkirchen even higher with 14.8%, and Herne 11.4%. And if we look at the Ruhr area, according to unemployment and the share of non-German people, we see along the German Autobahn, the A40, that there's a concentration of like poor and unemployed and migrant people living there. And we started in Bochum, in this area, and also here we are right now in this red area in Wattenscheid. This is how this quarter is called. And I bring also a cartoon for the moment. One day son, all of this will be art galleries, loft conversation, and subsidized theater companies. This was the kind of economic transition we did the past years in the Ruhr region. Well, we have been at the steel plant today. Maybe one day it might be also a cultural place or a new kind of way, but in the Ruhr region, we have a lot of old industrial places which are like big event halls and so on, and a lot of cultural and creative industry came, and also service industries and the knowledge industry. And what we see, we have still a high unemployment. We had a huge loss of jobs, and still now we have a high unemployment. And I won't show you the MLP, but it's for me just like the agenda through the story of our project for today. So we had the creative city, the vision of the creative city, and now it turns maybe to a more circular city, fab cities, from products in and trash out, like the Fab City Foundation draw a vision. We had our global production systems and producing a lot of waste, producing a lot of emissions, and somehow we need to get to another system to have low emissions, carbon neutral future, and maybe we have a circular economy and we exchange knowledge and data instead of products. And this is a vision from the Fab City Foundation in the year 2016. And also we had the SDGs in the year 2015, fostering for more decent work, economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, and also sustainable cities, short distances between products and also employees and the plants, and also responsible consumption and production and climate action. So this is where it starts, our living labs in Germany in 2015 in the south of Germany in the federal state Baden-Württemberg, and later on in 2016 the Federal Ministry of education and research also had a research program called Sustainable Urban Transformation. And it's also in the socio-ecological research. And we applied, or actually it's Stefan Gärtner who applied with some colleagues. And well, I came to the Institute for this project. And the definition of the Scientific Advisory Council in this time was living labs are scientifically constructed spaces of collaborative sustainability research with intervention character. And later also Schepke said, well, real-world laboratories claim for transformation in a social problem area. They need to be transdisciplinary in between science, practice, civil society, and policy. They should have or include experiments as methodologically basis, long-term and in best case also transferable, and they need a continuous reflection in the process. And they can be like in a whole city, they can be in a city quarter or even in a household, according to Schneiderwind. And I would also add also in a region or maybe nation, there might be also living labs. So we started with our project called Urbane Produktion Ruhr in 2016 as a niche project. So the goals of the project were, first of all, public relations and appreciation for urban production and urban manufacturing, that it is still necessary in our cities of today to have production, repair shops, and so on, and maybe be part of a paradigm shift. We also wanted to create jobs for low-skilled and unemployed people in those quarters. We wanted to support for existing businesses, support for new settlements and startups, ensuring framework conditions and infrastructures to reach that goal, and also the realization and making visible of the best practice examples, which is our real-world laboratories. So how did we construct our real-world laboratories or living labs? I use this term as the same. So we wanted to find a space, like a real space where we could start a living lab. Then we need to engage stakeholders who participate in the living labs, and we need to stimulate the processes that it will go on and happen and still be maybe long-term. And I will start with creating spaces. So what we started with was mapping vacancies, addressing the owners. We had a lot of vacancies in the rural areas in those quarters. We wrote concept paper drafts, talked with the approval authorities, preparing the building application and setting up the infrastructure in the building and even building some furniture for our real-world laboratories. How did it look like? Well, we started in Langendreher, which was also a Soziales Stadtgebiet, which means there was also like money of the city, developing things in this part of the city because of the socio-economically problems or challenges in this area. And we collected like the vacancies and also the still existing manufacturers in this area. And the same we did for Wattenscheid, and we are right now like here. And in Langendreher we found a place. We wanted to start in Wattenscheid because it's nearer to the institute and so on, and we thought, well, the process of the Soziales Stadt is ongoing quite a while also in this part of Bochum. But actually, we couldn't find a space in the first place. But we found a place in Langendreher, which was an old church and it wasn't used anymore. And also the people from the church, they were willing to give us the church for really low rent. And so we could use it for our project. So we started in Langendreher with reusing a church, a cultural space new for production, because in the rural region it was the other way around, and we tried to implement maybe urban manufacturing in the church. There are a lot of vacant churches in the whole of Germany, so maybe if we can find a use case that we develop infrastructure for manufacturing or industry into a church building, maybe we can transfer it to other cities. So this was our idea in the first place. And we had a toilet also in this church, which is not in every church the case. So it was useful for us, and we decided to start there. So we had now our space, and in parallel ongoing process, we were also looking for stakeholders, research stakeholders. We participated at neighborhood festivals. We did guided interviews with politics, with local intermediaries, and tried out a joint implementation with local partners, and then addressing also the general public when the program was fixed. And we did it with social media on Instagram, Facebook, and the website, which are still also running. To talk a bit about the actors and the transdisciplinary team. Well, our research project team was like from science side, AIT and University of Applied Sciences in Bochum. As NGO, we had the Urbanisten, they're placed in Bochum, and the city of Bochum as also research partner. And maybe these were the pioneers of the project as well. And then we have the church as owner of the building, also as one partner of the project, and also the Bahnhof Langendreher, which is a socio-cultural center in Bochum Langendreher, and they wanted to spread out in the quarter and to get the local people also to go to their programs and cinema and so on, and they wanted to do something for the local people. So they really were from the beginning in our project and wanted to do something also in this church. And we had as part of the city of Bochum, the city management, which was locally in Langendreher, and they were also part of the initial team. Further partners, just to mention a few in the program, through 3 weeks. It was just a 3 weeks period. We used this church in the first case as pop-up, and we also included some manufacturers, urban manufacturing enterprises, well, like the economy. And further, well, how to reuse a church building in Germany. Now it becomes legal. We need a public order office, we need the Office of Housing and Urban Development, we need the Building Regulations Office, we need the Environment and Green Space Office, we need a monument conversation, we need food safety inspectorate, and so on, to finally get to the Luther Lab. And even to get all these people working in the city of Bochum in the administration together was quite an experiment, because usually they don't speak to each other and they don't get to know each other. And we had a round table, and our luck was that the city of Bochum, the urban planning department, was one partner of the project, and he knows he didn't know them, but he knows where to ask for the people. And so he collected all of them to be at the round table to allow us for 3 weeks to use the church as a manufacturing and also cafe and meeting point and different uses than it usually is used for. So, and then we needed the processes, and first we did some research about best practice examples, collection of workshop ideas. We elaborated the program. We asked workshop leaders, like the manufacturers, who could do a workshop, and also scenario workshops, and further on meetings for subsequent use of the building. And finally, also we were part of the foundation of the organization structure of the further use of the building. And now I have a video, and I hope it will work. Yeah, this was the first day, and we had like aquaponics over there. It's plant fish-based agriculture system. We were building like lamps and making ropes, and there was a cafe, and food sharing was also there, and well, some people were also visiting us, so it was a quite nice experience through the first day, and then it happened to be 3 weeks. And I think there's another small video. 3D printing, also quite new in this period of time. People with bicycles. Yeah, so just to give you an impression. And a lot of people in this quarter, they didn't know that this church is existing and is empty. So they went there every day, but they didn't really recognize the church. And then they were part of the process of the festival, and were interested in working with us. And so we founded a association, the Lutherlab e.V., in 2018 with some people from the quarter, and tried out to find a long-term solution for the church, including, for example, production and startups, an open workshop. Cultural and education was one part of the ideas which should be there in long-term. Urban gardening project around the church. A gastronomy, maybe a beer garden. These were the things coming up, and the association wanted to do. So I will stop here for the Lutherlab now. So we had like the initial phase of the festival, 3 weeks, and then 2018 the association foundation. And now we had our use case, and now Wattenscheid and the persons of the city administration, Wattenscheid, told us, oh, now we want to have a Lutherlab in Wattenscheid as well, because this was a good example. And so now we had our foot in the door, and we found also an owner of a shop, quite like it's across the street here, a really small shop, 50 square meters. And we're very happy to get it, because we had looked up a lot of vacant stores, but the owners said no in the last moment, and we wrote a lot of concepts. And 2019 we got this shop, and we had it for 3 months to have also a program. And we did it a bit different, because we thought in the first place urban manufacturing, it didn't our initial goal didn't come up so well, and the people just wanted a cultural space, a meeting space, and so on. And we thought, okay, we need to change or reflect our living lab and do more program with local manufacturers and industry partners. So we had every Thursday, for example, evening with local manufacturers telling about their industry. And also workshops where we make beer or brew beer. And one day we did all these boxes, and when you go out, you can still see them on the streets, because the neighborhood told us, well, this neighborhood is so ugly, and every day it gets more ugly. And we told them, well, we try to do something about it. And we started with those boxes, and they said, well, we couldn't imagine it, that it's nicer than before, and it's getting better here. And also there's some paintings on the walls, and we brought together the neighborhood with the city, and so they could afford also the paintings on the walls, for example. So the understanding of manufacturing, well, was not so clear in the end, actually, after our reworked laboratories. In the Lutherlab, the people said, nah, maybe it's regional, it's DIY, it's future. And in the Wattkraft laboratory, it was creativity, upcycling. So this was still not what we intended to be urban manufacturing, but this was what the people understand by urban manufacturing coming to our events. And in the Lutherlab, 72% of the people were interested in the current use of the church, and these were the main intentions to come. We reached about 1,000 visitors in the Luther Lab, maybe because it was a church, and also a lot of the old members of the church came and looked by what happened there nowadays. And in Wattkraft, it was about 150 visitors in 2019. We are in 2019, and now also Fridays for Future, the EU Green Deal appeared, and we found some early adopters participating in our programs, the city of Herne and also the city of Gelsenkirchen, and they wanted projects like this as well in their cities. And we had window of opportunity of the that the federal ministry also had another research grant for more 2 years to transfer the living labs and also to upscale them. So we took the chance and wrote another research grant, and we also got it. And we could, we started here in Langendreher, and we also wanted to develop the Luther Lab. And also Bochum-Wattenscheid, it was clear that the empty store is not good for manufacturing. But then this place became empty as well. It was a gastronomy before, and also a group of people brewing beer at our events, that they came together and said, well, what is really missing in Wattenscheid is a local beer, because Wattenscheid was our own city and we need our own brewery. And so the idea was born to have a brewery here, and there's a garage next door, and the idea was to redevelop a garage from in kind of new mobility. Maybe we don't need cars anymore, so we try to redevelop a garage to a beer factory. Actually, that didn't work out till today because of German law, and every industry needs some parking space for their employees, and so this is the legal requirements we are still fighting with in this place. So there's no local beer production, but there's another brewery, and this association which was founded here, they brew their beer at their brewery. So they have sometimes their local beer. Well, I think not today. Maybe there are 2 bottles on the line. Yeah, and Piepnitz is the local brewery who was this is from this association, and Piepnitz is the local brewery founded in 2020-21 also in Wattenscheid, and now the Wiesmans is brewing beer at the brewery of Piepnitz. So there's also kind of local production. And in Herne-Wanne, we also did some analyses in the city and networks of manufacturers. And the city of Bochum told us if we want to go further with the project, we should also have a look on the city of Bochum, the inner city, because of structural change and the retail trades which are leaving the city. They wondered if urban manufacturing could be something for the inner city. So we wrote a concept on Fab Town Bochum, and had some part of a foundation competition or a startup competition. And also we had some events for urban manufacturers, and also created an association for urban manufacturers who do pop-ups for new manufacturers in Bochum right now. And there's, I think, the 3rd pop-up store right now for urban manufacturers in Bochum, in the inner city. And in Gelsenkirchen, we looked at the whole city this time, not just single parts, and did a strategy how to develop and protect manufacturing in the city. And we did also a real-world laboratory and wanted to transfer the knowledge of Bochum and the Luther Lab to a church in Gelsenkirchen-Schalke, which didn't work out there. So, well, we tried to transfer, we had to transfer knowledge, but actually there was another population, and so the people weren't there to transfer the project. And we had another construction. Well, there was COVID as well, 2020 to 22. This was maybe also another restriction that it didn't work out in Gelsenkirchen in the church. So we had a lot of niche projects, and also some further projects where the people, for example, met the first time in 2017 in the Luther Lab, and were in a workshop about the food strategy of cities, and they developed an association on food later on, and also community-supported agriculture. People wanted to have a community-supported agriculture in Bochum as well, which don't exist and still doesn't exist because the land is not there. Bochum is quite dense, and all the land is owned by farmers and so on, and it's quite difficult to get land for corporate supported community-supported agriculture. And then I was thinking about, well, what about transformative knowledge regions? So what of our project went to other regions, or maybe to the nation, and where did the knowledge go we try to implement in our region? Is urban production maybe also a new paradigm or just a hype? And we also had an exhibition which went to some other cities in Germany and even in Austria. We had also presentations in other cities on the topic. We did publications as scientists, of course, and there was also further attention to the topic, not just because of our real-world laboratories, but of the Sustainable Urban Transformation Call. There were more projects in this period of time on the topic of urban production. So, and the question is, how will it end in the end? So 2022, there was the start of the Russian war in Ukraine, and in the first step, we thought, well, maybe local production gets more important, and also circular economy gets more important now also on a national level. And last week, I think Robert Habeck also introduced the German industry strategy. So maybe these are points where we could come in a new regime which influenced the landscape. On the other hand, we have also restricting phases and developments like the rising energy prices, inflation, maybe also the EU taxonomy, which doesn't allow to give credits easy to manufacturing industries, or like to a high needing energy intensive industries. So maybe these are constraints for the topic. And so the question I have like to discuss with you in a minute as well is transformative knowledge. I thought it's the meaning of how to act, but we tried to act in our real-world laboratories and learned how not to act and what is not working. And I was wondering, there's still a lot of resistance, bureaucracy, lack of skills, money, time, maybe even knowledge. We have legal constraints, also generation conflicts in between in the association Luther Lab. That's what is the main problem right now, that we have this different workflow in between the generations of the local people and also the research. And so it's quite energy intensive for the persons participating in those associations. And also price constraints. On the one hand, we get to know right now it's too expensive to produce local. On the other hand, it's the energy cost is too high or not high enough to produce local again. So these are the constraints also right now. Maybe the project was too early to really get urban manufacturing back to our cities here in this case. And there's also just one picture of another real-world laboratory in Munich, which went viral, and also negative voices to experiments are getting louder these days. And a lot of neighbors of this project, when they had this experiment to reuse the street to a playground, one half of the neighbors were very, very happy that they could go outside the door and play with their children, and the other ones were really, really upset because of the noise of the children. And so that's like also this, yeah, we have to think about those things and take everybody, maybe everybody with it, or I don't know, I don't have a solution for it, but yeah, I think the goal is clear. The EU wants carbon neutrality till 2015. 15 real-world laboratories and experiments are necessary. However, I think we need rollouts for the consolidation, knowledge transfer and application, and we need to discuss also the role of science, in my opinion, focus on analyze of failures maybe of the past real-world laboratories and find solutions to solve them and then apply them as well, or recommend them to the politics, and maybe be or stay part of the transformation process, and maybe discuss what happens after 2015 and create scenarios and visions to take everybody with us to those visions afterwards. So, well, some reference, and thank you for your attention.